Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Ground Tactician The Civil War, where we are playing the Confederate career mode. Last episode we engaged the enemy near Winchester and won our first victory, but it was a costly one. As soon as we have enough prestige, I will try to take command of an entire army, and then hopefully we can turn this war around. Currently though, we are in big trouble, as the Union forces have outflanked our lines and are pretty close to Richmond. So let's find out if our capital is going to fall or if we have the chance to defeat the Union vanguard. We can see that these forces are moving down to Charlottesville, and our own forces have driven out Union forces out of the Shenandoah Valley. Staunton is about to be the center of the next Union attack. I do not know why they would wish to attack those forces. The army of the Northwest only has a couple thousand men, and Richmond would have been open. Currently in the Battle of Akia Landing, this fort is going to fall rather soon, and then Fredericksburg is open. And in the Crittenden-Johnson resolution, a bill was passed to preserve the Union. No actions are going to be made against slavery, and the bill passes almost unanimously. Maybe this would be a good option for us to get out of this conflict. We can see that over here the army of the Northwest is retreating north. They have about 1,200 soldiers in the field right now, and the Union forces around Staunton are about to capture the city. They have over 10,000 soldiers in the area, and I wonder why they are not directly marching onto Richmond. And it looks like our army and Lee's division are trying to get close to the army of the Shenandoah to bind those forces relatively close to Manassas Junction. It looks like our forces try to get into action with the enemy. We are moving onto these forces, and the Union calls for further volunteers. They are going to enlist with a 2-year contract, and the Congress sanctions further enlistment. The states are forming new regiments. And I hope if we engage these forces that the army of the Shenandoah is also going to attack. But I also believe that we are going to be hopelessly outnumbered. Or well, maybe not. Allegedly we have 25,000 soldiers in the field while the enemy only has 17,000 infanterists. This could be a very good opportunity for us. Gentlemen, today is July 29th, 1861. Our scouts report that the enemy is near Leesburg, Virginia, and our army is to prepare for battle. We are facing the 1st Division under command of Daniel Tyler with strengths of some 8,000 soldiers and 24 guns. The enemy army is inexperienced and the morale is reported to be confident. Reports indicate their supply situation is outstanding. The supply state of our army is outstanding as well. We can see that the majority of our forces have deployed over on the west of the battlefield, but it looks like we might receive some further reinforcements from this direction. The enemy has fortified alongside Blackburn's Fort and McLean, and they have also dug trenches alongside the Island Fort and Ball's Fort. These are some terrifying looking parapets with artillery support behind them, and they have built further fortifications behind their lines over here and over here. The fight can begin, and so far I do not have any information where our forces are moving. Our soldiers were called up to move all the way over here. I didn't give this order, but it looks like the entire army is moving as ordered. A big chunk of our forces is moving down. They're moving down alongside Stuart's Hill and over the Warrenton Turnpike. It looks like they are trying to outflank the enemy force, and I can only assume that we are going to gather here and then move alongside these streets to get into this rear of the enemy. And it looks like we are now also ordered to move forward. I'm going to send my men over here to the Stone Bridge. I do not know where our forces are going to gather because we haven't received any orders. Let's just send our boys forward. And now we have received the order to defend friendly forces that are engaging the enemy over on this position. Therefore, my order to gather the men over here is actually quite good, because then we can hopefully get into the rear of the enemy, but daylight is running out. And we can see that some of our attacking forces are getting flanked already. There doesn't seem to be a very cohesive attack plan. Some of our forces are trying to get over here, others are trying to get into the enemy rear, and now the Union forces are pushing forward. Our own men still need a lot of time to come up. We are all the way back here still. And this day has now ended. The next day of fighting is about to begin. We do not know where the Union forces went. It could be possible that they are holding the trench line, but it could also be possible that they have withdrawn during the night. Our own soldiers marched through the entire night to link up with our forces, and we are now situated east of Ball's Fort. Hopefully we are able to hit the enemy in the flank to give support to these forces. And immediately we can see that the Union forces have dug a new line of trenches over here. Our soldiers are luckily able to hit the enemy before they were able to really deploy. We have forces that started an attack on the enemy flank, and more forces are coming up over here. We are engaging the enemy. Some of our soldiers are unstable, but hopefully we are able to inflict some heavy casualties and force some of the enemy to fall back. We can see heavy combat over here, and it looks like more of our forces are coming up over here. I do not think that we can hold our advance for long. The enemy is allegedly rear flanked, but I do not know exactly from where, and our first unit has begun to fall back, but it looks like we were able to drive away the Washington Greys. Come on, gentlemen, open fire, open fire. Our guns are shelling the enemy. But we are now getting contested with the entire fire line of the Union army. Our casualties are rising. Our morale is also dropping. Give me one or two more good Wally's men, then we will have to withdraw. Yeah, this is the next unit of ours falling back. I am ordering a retreat. We will need to get our soldiers out. This is going to be the only way that we can stop an entire rout of our brigade. I do not know why these soldiers are not engaging. Our attack on the Union flank has completely collapsed. And over here we have some more nasty hand-to-hand combat. Unfortunately, our attack was not focused in any way, shape or form, meaning that big parts of our army are not engaging. And it looks like this fight is going to end in defeat. Currently we have lost over 1,400 soldiers, while the enemy only suffered 700 casualties. And you gentlemen, charge up to that new position. We need you out of contact. Our guns also struggle to get back. Come on, double time it. You need to get out of there. If we lose our artillery, it is definitely going to be over. 6 Louisiana is nervous, they're getting rear flanked, and we can see that more and more of our forces are falling back. This seems to be a doomed attack. Yes, there unfortunately our men from Louisiana have broken. Let's try to get our soldiers all the way over here. We have Lee's division in the area with some forces that we are hopefully able to support with our artillery fire, but our offensive capabilities have completely ended. Down here more of our demoralized forces are falling back, and we have received the news that our artillery is under heavy enemy fire. Well, we knew this already, and he has decided to abandon his post. First Washington artillery has suffered over 16 casualties. And I believe that is the last of our brigade. Our brigade commander made it out of the field. We have still tiny bits of our forces scattered around the battlefield, but I doubt that we can actually do anything in this fight anymore. Over here the second US artillery has set up, and it looks like they are able to flank our own forces, and New York artillery is also on the flank of our allied troops. Let's once more order our brigade commander back. There's no point in getting killed right here, right now. We see that the 16th Georgia is starting a daring attack. They apparently want to fire on close range. They want to get into the enemy parapets. But Colonel Thompson Hindman is leading his soldiers into a deathly valley of the enemy. Already they suffered 87 casualties and have to withdraw. And we can see that more Union forces are now pushing up to support this flank. Down here the fight is still going on, very close combat. We have the 2nd New Jersey on the flank of the 8th Georgia and of the 12th Georgia. And the Union forces are able to hold their own. It looks like the commander of the Army of the Northwest is over here. They've suffered over 800 casualties. But these casualties barely matter as they have over 17,000 men in total. Allegedly we are still looking at a minor victory, but this is hard to believe. We can see that some of our forces are still in this fort, but they are not pushing forward. Together with the units from the 6th Brigade, if they would start a good and well-planned attack, they could press the enemy flank and push the enemy rear if we would see some more action from here. This could potentially destroy these forces, but then we would still have to engage all of these forces, and I doubt that we have the strength to do that. But luckily some more forces are pulling up over here. Our own commander was able to gather a few of our forces, but it looks like they have withdrawn all the way over here. The 6th Alabama is coming back. They only have 360 soldiers remaining, and the 5th Alabama only has 275. And I assume that the men from Louisiana have fled the field. The same goes with our artillery. But it looks like we are currently moving onto the enemy flank. Maybe we are able to push. Still, I do not believe that this fight is going to end in victory. We have now crossed over to a minor defeat. We have already suffered 2,000 casualties while the enemy only suffered 950. But now the next push onto the enemy flank is happening. And we can see that actually some of our forces were in the rear of the enemy, but it looks like they are now trying to get back. I do not know who would send their men forward on this way, but if they would have attacked, this would be a golden opportunity. The same goes with the soldiers of the 3rd Brigade of the Army of the Shenandoah. The enemy rear is more or less exposed as they are focused on these soldiers. But there is really nothing that we can do here. It looks like my soldiers are there. They are surely getting back onto the battlefield. But I will abstain from moving them forward. This fight is lost. And finally we can see some of our forces pushing up. We are able to drive back Baker's detachment. But the rest of these forces seem to stand idly by. A well-concentrated attack could have helped, but of course this attack came once this attack has fizzled out. We now hear that Walker is withdrawing his forces. Can we do something to support our men? While in theory we could send our soldiers around and try to get into the enemy flank. But I do not think that this is going to be worth it. We can see hand-to-hand combat over here. This unit is now withdrawing. And some forces are pushing up. The 3rd Brigade is trying to gather their forces over here. And over here the fighting is still going on. I do not know why these men haven't withdrawn yet. The enemy is much superior to them, and over here our flank is also crumbling. With some luck we are able to drive the 1st Rhode Island back and then try to get to Blackburn's Fort. Maybe this would be a position that we could entrench, but there's no way saving this battle. Now the 3rd Brigade is finally moving over the river. They are trying to attack the enemy. Let's get our own soldiers up a bit. The men from Louisiana have also rejoined our lines, and if the 3rd Brigade starts to attack the Union rear, I will send our forces forward. This of course can only happen if they actually pull through. Right now it looks like they want to send their forces back. And as there are no concentrated attacks happening, there's no way that we can actually do something. We can see that the 17th and 16th Georgia are back on the field. They are getting needlessly slaughtered. But a couple more regiments are fighting, so let's send our boys forward. Maybe we are able to do something here. Come on, man. Move up, move up, move up. Get into range and hopefully outflank the 13th New York. Our men from Louisiana need to deal with the 1st Ohio to give out some cover fire before our units rout. And of course the men from Louisiana want to fight on very close range. I do not know why they want to do that. They are now getting outflanked by the men from Ohio. There's no way that we could withdraw them, but we were able to drive away the 13th New York. Let's push forward. There's absolutely no chance that our soldiers are going to recover from that, but maybe we can create a breakthrough for these forces on our flank. Very good. We have routed a couple more units. We are trying to deliver as much cover fire on the 2nd Ohio as possible, so that the men from the 5th and from the Wharton's Brigade can push forward. And unfortunately our horse has been killed. And there goes the 5th Alabama, meaning that our entire regiment, our entire brigade has now broken. Well, let's hope it was worth it. Currently we haven't even gained a lot of prestige because our units have routed so fast and we were only able to inflict a few casualties onto the enemy. Meaning that we're not even getting closer to our goal to overtake an entire army. But still, this flanking attack for once looks promising. And we can see some flares of resistance still over here. If they would now push up, we could in theory drive away this entire force. Very good, there goes the 1st Ohio. Jameson's detachment is over here, taking over some artillery. We might be able to do something. Come on boys, push up, push up. 19th Virginia is fighting alone and is driven away. It almost appears like the Wharton's Brigade isn't willing to fight. They've taken a lot of casualties, they are almost broken, but they in theory could drive through. Over on this section, our forces were able to repel some of the Union defenders, and they are now trying to take over Blackburn's Fort. But over here there's still some stiff resistance. If these forces would move in, they could hit the enemy forces in the rear. And over here we are still holding against the Union pressure. Overall, the situation is dire. It is looking very bad. But with a few concentrated attacks, we could theoretically turn this around. Already we have suffered over 4,500 casualties, while the enemy suffered 2,600. Meaning that even if we are willing to turn this into a victory, we are going to be a lot weaker than before. This victory would be Pyrrhic at best. And I wonder if our commander is still on the field. We were able to withdraw to the northern side of Ball's Fort. And we even have 2 regiments back under our command. Let's send them forward, just in case another opportunity arises. But I do not think that we can go back to combat. Over here the 1st Georgia battery is moving forward without artillery. And Joseph E. Johnson should order the 1st Brigade forward to attack the rear of the enemy. Colonel Thomas Jackson is leading these forces, but he has also taken massive casualties. And we can see over here the 2nd Mississippi, a fresh regiment is pushing up. Enemy units are currently getting flanked, but they are fighting alone. And they try to overtake parapets, meaning that they're going to be outflanked. There the casualties are rising up. And after 53 casualties with less, and after they have taken over 54 casualties, they now have to withdraw. Our men are hiding in the bushes. We are unable to attack. And we now have 17 o'clock. Some more fighting is happening over here, and we are currently trying to overtake this fort. So maybe that would at least be something that we could do. Try to get our soldiers out of harm's way and into the rear of the enemy. Then at least we could claim that we have done something productive today. Casualties are mounting, and we have now taken over 4,800 casualties. We have lost over 17% of our force, while the enemy has lost about 15% of theirs. The majority of our forces have left this area of fighting, meaning that some Union forces use the opportunity to withdraw. Our own men are pushing south. We want to get on Blackburn's fort, and we can see that Wood's detachment and Williams' detachment are engaging Baker's detachment, while many Union regiments have deployed over here and over here. And it looks like the majority of our resistance over here has been bled out. And it looks like some forces are gathering to once again attack this position, and if these units would finally join the attack, we could destroy these Union forces. But daylight is soon coming to a close, and I wonder if our men are even able. Yes, our men have actually made it onto the field. Let's try to use them wisely and to hopefully outflank these units in the water. The 39th New York is on the field, and this day has once more ended. This is now the 3rd day of the battle, and in my hopes that we are going to be able to hold Blackburn's fort, I have ordered my soldiers to dig out some trenches. Let's hope that our allies are also going to use them, and that we are able to hold back the Union counterattack. The battle can begin, and the Union is immediately on our flank, and it looks like the rest of our forces have abandoned said position. Well, in this case we are at least able to give out a little bit of cover fire onto Mott's detachment, and we can only hope that our soldiers are pushing forward. We can see some movement over here, but once the Union forces realize our weakness, we will have to withdraw. Mott's detachment is trying to get our point. Let's order some of our men forward. And we can see over here the 39th New York is coming up. but we can also see some friendly regiments coming in. The big question is, can we hold out long enough, or do we have to withdraw before that? '29th New York is coming up. I'm trying to get the 5th Alabama onto this position. Maybe we can hold them back until reinforcements arrive. We are immediately getting outflanked. And the 5th Alabama has routed before even reaching their point. The 2nd Ohio is marching in behind us, and the 6th Alabama has now also decided to run. Let's get our commander out. There's no way that we can continue the fight. But at least the 2nd Ohio is going to be slaughtered, as they are running headfirst into our own forces. The 1st Ohio is rushing in. At least some easy casualties that our enemy is going to sustain. Our brigades have shrunken significantly. Our brigade has shrunken significantly. We only have 899 soldiers left in total. And we can only hope that the 1st Ohio is going to falter quickly, as they have repelled the 1st Virginia. They're opening fire, and they're holding their own pretty well, even though they have only 281 men left. But none of this matters anymore, as we have now suffered a major defeat. This battle is over. This fight was an absolute disaster. The enemy had 18,600 soldiers available and took 3,400 casualties and lost 40 of their artillery pieces. But on our side we had over 27,600 soldiers, and we lost over 5,600 of them without being able to push the enemy off the field. We had some very good opportunities, but the generals were unable to exploit them. And after the disaster at Leesburg, the army of the Shenandoah is fleeing in a panic, and Major Hunt loses face. We have not been informed how bad the situation is, how many soldiers of us were captured or killed, but we can only assume that our losses are going to be astronomical. And I think this is also going to be a good point to end this episode. But before we end this, I want to suggest a condition for our defeat. We still have July 1861, and I would say if the Union is able to capture Richmond within 1861, this war is going to be over, unless we're able to recapture said capital within a month. With this, we should be able to not drag out this fight any longer than absolutely necessary, because after sustaining over 20,000 casualties and only winning one battle, I would assume the Confederate morale would historically collapse already. We can see that the Union forces now field over 73,000 soldiers, while we only have 36,600 men left in the field. But this has to be it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and until we meet again, I wish you all a great time.